Greetings, loved ones. Today we're going to talk about how coercive controllers begin with romance and lead their victims into isolation. We will talk about understanding how a coercive controller grooms his victims. Please help us get these messages out. Subscribe to our channel. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Hit the like button and the notification bell, and please share these messages with others. You never know, by doing so, you could save a life. Anyone can fall for the clever manipulations of an abusive partner. They are sly, cunning, and every planned step they make to gain control and power of their victims and keep it. Most relationships that become violent or controlling do not start that way. They often begin with a heavy dose of romance. Abusers shower their victims with attention, flattery, and care. The abuser may initially seem ideal, devoted, loving, supportive, and wanting to spend every minute with their new partner. This flood of romance can feel overpoweringly positive, leaving the recipient in an altered state where reality may seem suspended. You're like, I can't believe this. This is too good to be true. This is a type of grooming, a predatory tactic that is meant to build a deep emotional connection. And abusers, they know exactly what they are doing. The romantic outpouring might make the recipient a bit unsteady and unable to see the new relationship clearly, and can lead a victim to overlook or dismiss the onset of abusive behaviors. The fact is that abusers often come on strong. Sarah was 22 when she met 30-year-old Sam. Within 2 weeks, he had moved into her apartment, put his name on her bank account, and claimed her every second when she was not at her job. Sam asked her about her most intimate experiences, secrets, and dreams. Sam accompanied Sarah whenever she went out. At first, Sarah was elated. No man had ever loved her this intensely. And then he took her phone from her when they were together so they would concentrate on each other. He pushed her to skip events at work and with friends, saying their relationship was their priority. He made exciting alternative plans for the holidays, so she missed family gatherings. Sam asked Sarah for access to all her social media accounts as a sign of trust. When Sarah voiced any objection, Sam accused her of lacking commitment and became sullen. He classified all her attempts at privacy or independence as signs that she did not love him. And Sarah gave in. It was easier than fighting, and she desperately wanted to preserve the, quote, purity of their love. Sam had groomed Sarah into isolation, and isolation made her vulnerable to further coercive control. The next step is intimidation. Romantic gestures can abruptly turn into intimidation. Abusers typically blame their partners for growing tensions, and victims will work hard to appease the abuser, trying to keep themselves safe and get back into the early glow. After a romantic dinner one day, Steve began kissing and taking off the clothes of his boyfriend, Derek. Derek kissed him back, but said he did not want to have sex that night, and Steve grabbed him hard by both arms, stared into his face, and said, "Don't." For the first time, Derek felt afraid of Steve, who was bigger and stronger than he was. And in that moment, Derek understood that saying no to sex was not an option. To keep the peace, Derek never again directly refused to do what Steve asked of him. Derek felt threatened throughout the remainder of their relationship, but tried to avoid thinking about those feelings because the romance was sweeter than any he had ever known before. From initially making their partners feel loved unconditionally and like they can do no wrong, abusers then make their partners work hard to please them, blaming and acting hostile when they do not get their way. Grooming controllers, coercive controllers, they also groom the community. Abusers often groom friends and family and others to overlook signs of abuse and cut ties with the victim. Abusers strategically act charming and helpful to others so that these individuals cannot imagine the cruel acts occurring behind closed doors. Iris described how Dave would mow their neighbor's yard, play organ at the church, and coach children's sport teams. Nobody believed her when Iris tried to tell people how he treated her and the children when they were home alone. Sometimes abusers groom the community by ruining their partner's reputation, and this can be overt or quite subtle. Letitia said she lost her friend soon after getting together with her husband because of the stories he made up or twisted to make her sound incompetent, lazy, and crazy. Mike called Lisa's friends and asked them to let him know if she did anything particular, subtly indicating that he was worried that she was becoming unhinged. She noticed that certain friends were looking at her strangely, but she didn't know why. The unexplained change in her friend's behavior undermined her confidence. Jacob told members of their tight-knit religious community that Hannah was behaving immodestly and neglecting their children. When she tried to leave him, her community shunned her and fought on behalf of her husband's bid for child custody. Awareness of the grooming process helps us understand the plight of someone in a relationship with an abuser. Grooming helps explain why the person may stay with the abuser, submit to his or her demands, or push others away who try to help. Cassandra Weiner, a coercive control researcher, entreats readers and listeners to understand how this grooming process can break down to survivors. She explained that survivors of domestic violence and coercive control are vulnerable, but not because they're weak, character deficient, or mentally unwell. They are vulnerable because they have been groomed. If you are concerned that you or someone you care about has been groomed for an abusive relationship, the following can help. So listen to this. Learn about coercive control. We've been talking about it. This is our 6th or 7th episode. No, actually it's our 9th episode on coercive control. So you can watch the other episodes before. Learn about coercive control. Complete an inventory of the abusive partner's control. Avoid isolation by staying connected to friends and or relatives. Remember that the abuser may be monitoring all of his partner's contacts, so keep those conversations light and generally supportive unless you are certain you have privacy. If safe, establish boundaries and cautiously test the limits of the control. In the grooming stage, the abuser may ask his partner to stay away from a social event without making it seem like a demand. If the partner refuses to cede to the abuser's wishes, and the abuser then becomes hostile, the abuser has made it clear that his request is really a demand. Pushing to maintain some privacy and autonomy may make evident the controlling motivations behind the romance. Even with a controlling relationship, the abused partner might be able to set some boundaries and resist isolation. Speak with a domestic violence advocate at any stage in the relationship, even if there is no physical violence. Advocates help people understand their situations and figure out safe pathways forward. With 1 in 3 women experiencing domestic violence worldwide, the question is not if you will encounter a victim of violence. The question before God is, what will you do when you do encounter them? You actually could be a person who saves a life. You are called, we are all called to be champions for justice. And those who suffer violence, they need to know that those who love them and those who don't even know them will step out and reach out to them to give them the courage and the help they need to leave before it's too late. Help us get these messages out. Please subscribe to our channel, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Hit the like button and the notification bell, and please share these messages with others. You never know. Just by doing so, you could save a life. If you're a victim of violence, listen to me. Lie after lie after lie after lie has convinced you that you have no value. But I want to tell you the truth. The truth is you are valued, you are loved, you are intelligent, and you are beautiful. God does not want you to suffer violence. He wants you to live free from violence in peace and tranquility. There is a way out, and it's not your fault. Abuse is not love. If you're a victim of violence, please reach out to someone. If you find yourself in a dangerous situation, call 911 for help. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about love bombing. Until then, God bless you.